under the same roof. Now, there will be no change to police powers, and officers will not be conducting random stops of people or cars. But Staff Superintendent Randy Carter, who is overseeing the service's enforcement action, says everyone must do their part to protect our health and safety, and for police, that's going to enforce equitably and effectively. Reporting live, I'm Madison Fitzpatrick.
So province-wide today, the positivity rate for COVID testing down, but one GTA city reporting a staggering rate of infection. This comes as the Ford government remains under pressure at Queen's Park. More of that straight ahead. But first, here's 680's Irene Precklett.
4,212 new cases across the province today, a drop in the testing positivity rate to 79%. Dr. Lawrence Lowe is Peel Region's top doctor and says Brampton's weekly positivity rate is a record 22.4%.
Once we had gotten over 10% into the case pieces that we're having there, which really speaks to the situation across the region of Peel. That is why we have always advised people, if you're meeting people outside of the people that you already live with, assume that they might have COVID.
2,335 people are being treated in Ontario hospitals for COVID. That is just shy of yesterday's record. 790 people are in the ICU, 566 of those on a ventilator. Those are records. Almost 137,000 vaccines were administered in a single day. That is also a record. I'm Irene Precklett. At Queen's Park, a government in crisis.
Ford government ministers facing extremely tough questions today. Government House Leader Paul Calandra asked by reporters if he still has confidence in Premier Ford.
Look, the Premier has done a spectacular job throughout this. This is a challenging time.
The Premier has not done a great job. We're talking about at least hundreds of avoidable deaths in a third wave. The hospital system is on the verge of collapse. How much worse do things need to get before Paul Calandra no longer has confidence in this Premier?
I have a tremendous amount of, we have worked so quickly in so many different areas.
He also confirmed that the government will come out with its own paid sick day legislation. But when?
We're taking our time to make sure it's right.
Premier Ford is self-isolating right now. Opposition leaders, though, are calling for him to hold a Zoom news conference. I'm Richard Southern.
This is All News Radio 680 News. The York Region COVID Enforcement Task Force continues to inspect businesses to ensure compliance. One of the latest charges laid against the hair salon.
Hey, that's an acronym of an acronym of an acronym. What the hell?
James, there are also reports that a number of restaurants in Vaughan are bending the rules when it comes to the public health measures, and that big backyard weddings and family gatherings are happening, this despite the stay-at-home order. Joe Lamarca is Director of Health Protection for York Region Public Health, and he says a regional enforcement task force is taking care of enforcement across the region, and the task force includes public health inspectors, bylaw officers, and police.
With respect to mass gatherings, which is what you're referring to, those are predominantly handled by our bylaw colleagues in Vaughan, and often they would also go with YRP.
Now, in the latest enforcement update from York Region, in Vaughan alone, a hair salon in Vaughan was charged for failing to close, and a charge was laid at a home in the Rutherford and Weston area for attending a social gathering held indoors. Vaughan Mayor Maurizio Bevilacqua says this type of behavior makes him angry. He says we're at war with COVID-19 and we can't afford defectors.
The vast majority of people do follow the rules, but they're always the ones that believe that they're exempt from them. And unfortunately, these are the individuals that create the situation that we presently face.
The mayor says it comes down to personal responsibility. Phil Martino, 680 News.
Gas prices are next.
This is 680.
We've got the strictest measures in place, blah, blah, blah. And yet the talk does not meet the walk, because we've got thousands of people coming in every single day from hot zones, like India, where there's now this new double mutant virus. It's driving...
It's in California. It was in California 2 weeks ago.
300,000 cases a day are now being reported in India. And in the last 2 weeks, 29 flights have arrived from Delhi. No questions asked. And then today we learned, guess what? Shock of all shocks. That double mutant variant is now being reported in Quebec. Again. Too little, too late.
I didn't know that.
Because the walk never meets the talk. And so I'd like to ask, where is the outrage? Because it is warranted. And yet the silence is absolutely deafening. So can we just start to put the blame where it belongs? And it doesn't just belong to one guy who a lot of people, the critics hate. But at some point, the federal government has to be held to account for the many, many missteps that have put us into this position. Sure, you can fault the Ford government, you can fault the premiers for lots of stuff, because a lot of this is provincial jurisdiction. But on the big issues like border controls, they have been slow, if they've acted at all, and the measures in place aren't good enough. There are loopholes, and there are people coming into this country. And Patty Hyde, you can tell us all she wants, well, it's not the driver of spread. Okay, but it only takes one person with COVID to come into this country.
And to eat an uncooked bat.
The problem was born a year and a half ago because we didn't want to be rude. We didn't want to hurt anybody's feelings. And so lo and behold, we let everybody in from all the hot zones. Well, then get a problem. It's not India's fault. No one's blaming India. But if there's a mutant variant spread there, doesn't it make common sense knowledge that you shut the borders so that we can stop it or prevent it or slow it down? Because we've got enough variants here. We didn't stop any of the last ones. They shut down travel to the UK for 2 whole days because that'll do it. No, germs are carried on people. And if you let people get on planes with variants, they're going to come into the country. Now it's too late. And we are in so much trouble here because we don't have the vaccines that, for all this talk, and now the Trudeau government said, well, we're thinking about putting in measures. Well, great. Thanks for showing up. It's in Quebec. You're too late. But again, where's the outrage? We just don't get it. And certainly not from the COVID critics. It's very, very selective. Nonetheless, we will talk about this, and we will talk about it with Brampton Mayor Patrick Brown next. He's been fighting to get travel into Pearson closed for months, and of course, it's fallen on deaf ears. So is the government listening, and will they be held to account? We will talk to the mayor in just a couple of minutes. Stay with us here on Point, Alex.
Browntown.
And then northbound Bayview approaching Frank and Dean, which is just approaching Elgin Mills. We got the left turn lane blocked off due to just some repairs going on. So just a heads up on those closures as well. Canadian Tire's big spring tire sale is on now. Save up to 25% off trusted brands like Motomaster, Michelin, and Goodyear. Ends April 29th. Conditions apply. Details online. Now the forecast. Here's Natasha Ramsahai.
Overnight tonight, we're down to low -2, so still well below seasonal. You need some mittens if you have to walk the dog in the morning because it's going to feel like -8 with flurries off of Georgian
That was
Bay,
today.
especially to the north and east.
That
the
was
afternoon mainly cloudy with sunny breaks. A high of 7. It is going to be windy up to 60 kilometers per hour. So it's not.
Can you tell them Canadian? Oh, it's April, -8 and fucking snow and whatever else. But it's only for 1 day. 2 days? What the hell? If it was only 1 day, I'd be fine with it.
Downtown Toronto, 2 degrees, feels like -4.
Religious and cultural settings in Mississauga, along with a major employer in the city, could soon be the sites of pop-up COVID-19 vaccination clinics. Field Region's top Dr. Lawrence Lowe says while mobile clinics have been in use already for months, more is coming.
With the recent question around pop-ups in workplaces, we have been in discussions with employers, with community centers, with the province to really identify how we can expand our mobile offerings to supplement the numbers that are going through our mass vaccination clinics.
Lowe says more details will be presented at the regional council meeting tomorrow. Mississauga Mayor Bonnie Crombie says she prefers the current mass vaccination clinics to pop-ups, adding not only are they able to administer as many as 13,000 doses per day, but the mass vac sites can get you out of lousy weather like we had today.
What?
This is 680 News. This April at Nova.
Don't sit out in this snow. Come inside and get a vaccination. Is that what you just fucking tried to tell us?
Hi, it's Fido. When it comes to downloading maps to find your way,
Fido, Rogers Network. They're going to give you, for 12 hours of no service, they're going to give you an entire 24 hours of your service charge back. That's a 30th of $4 or whatever.
data plans, only with...
So it's only worth about 4 or 5 cents. They're going to give you 9 or even 10 cents back.
I'm Mike from Mississauga.
Engagement ring, and it's backed by the famous Spence lifetime guarantee, just in case.
In case of what? Caleb is feeling verklempt.
Breathe, Caleb. Ready to take the big step?
Call or visit SpenceDiamonds.com to book your virtual appointment. See you soon on Zoom. Say yes.
Number 1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather. This is 680 News.
Mostly overcast in downtown Toronto. Some very light flurries and a wind chill reading of -2. Good evening. I'm Sultana Tibinsik.
And I'm James Monroe. Here's what's making news right now.
2 weeks into the stay-at-home order, Toronto police set to start focusing on breaking up large gatherings that flout the current measures. This includes parties at short-term.
We lost more people to COVID last year than we did to murder, homicide.
COVID-19 vaccines administered in hotspots. It's all dependent on the larger supply that's expected over the next couple of weeks. For those who may be unsure about getting vaccinated, here's Dr. Adam Davila.
If you're hesitant, please find a health expert you feel you can trust and talk through the reasons for your hesitancy.
Nearly 200
because they've been given a flow chart that will prove to you you're wrong. It's our body to control what you do. Those are our kids because we're co-parents, but this is dangerous. You're fucking sociopaths. You're sociopaths. You hear her attempting to empathize. She's trying to prove to you she can empathize with you.
The fan, here's Alex 60.
Fucking sociopaths.
First I pointed, then the junk disappeared. But the sparkle sound came a little bit late. So I said, you should probably make that sparkle sound a little bit quicker. And then Charlotte materialized out of thin air and said,
Never hesitate to trade your cow for a handful of magic beans.
I love 1-800-GOT-JUNK. When you want junk to disappear,
all you have to do is point.
Call 1-800-GOT-JUNK
or visit us at 1-800-GOT-JUNK.com.
Do you suffer from congestion, sneezing, and itchy eyes in late summer to early fall? Clienta Research is conducting a ragweed allergy study with compensation up to $2,675. Ask about the referral program. Visit at clienta.com.
Forget about checking in 3, 4, or 5 times a day. We'll keep you hooked morning to night. We are your News Talk leader, 640 Toronto.
The plane would have the Grey Cup in Hamilton on December the 12th. And the Olympic draw took place today for the women's soccer event.
This is what terrorists listen to while they're putting together them pressure cooker bombs.
Welcome back to On Point with Alex Pearson on Global News Radio.
Well, the Prime Minister can tell us all he wants that we have the toughest travel measures in place, but it's simply not true. We've got thousands of international flights coming into Pearson every day. We've got, like you look between April 4th to the 16th, there were 120 flights with COVID passengers on them. And in the last 3 weeks, over 35 flights came in
testing positive
from Delhi.
They stop and get tested.
India is reporting now 300,000 cases of COVID a day, driven by what they're calling this mutant variant. And we know this third wave is being driven by new variants. India itself has banned international flights, yet we keep letting flights into this country. And Dr. Tam was asked several times today why we are not stopping flights from arriving from India. And she said they're looking into it. Well, what's there to look into? We just keep waiting until it's too late. And of course, today we now learn Quebec has reported its first case of this new Indian mutant variant. So when are they going to act? I want to bring in Mayor of Brampton, Patrick Brown. He joins us now. And I think a lot of people are starting to wonder,
downtown to Browntown.
The thing of staying home and doing our part. And yet the federal government is being so slow to act in front of these variants.
It's very disappointing that we've had such a lackadaisical approach to such a key issue. And you look at the variants, they're now the main form of transmission of COVID-19. And this is the responsibility of the federal government. They're in charge of our airports. You know, the notion that we have international flights coming in left, right, and center with COVID-19 individuals, travelers on them, is scary, and it has real consequences. You know, you look at what happened in Barrie, where there was a long-term care facility with over 100 fatalities. That was a UK variant because of someone traveling. And so, you know, you have to learn lessons. Like, I don't understand why the federal government hasn't looked to the countries that are actually successful in dealing with the pandemic. You look at countries that have reopened, they're having concerts or sporting events because they secured their borders. What are we doing here in Canada that we continue to secure?
That's a false narrative. He's talking about the U.S. and Britain. They didn't close their borders, and they didn't get it under control. If you talk about China, China's not facing any of these same issues. That's all bullshit. They didn't use vaccines to control it, and they didn't go through none of this.
Literally a wall. The cases are escalating so fast that it's an arrow shooting off the graph.
Yeah, this is not about isolating or stigmatizing India. I mean, they themselves have shut down the border.
We're not racist against Indians. She said that 4 fucking times now.
For this for months now, but where is Dr. Lowe? Why aren't they putting more demands on the federal government? Because we get the talking point. Justin Trudeau said just yesterday we've got the toughest measures in place, but that's just simply not true. We don't.
Is it coriander or something?
Saying we have the toughest measures in place. I don't know anyone who could say that with a straight face. It is not even close to reality. We have, in Brampton, we're adjacent to the airport. We see these mega planes coming in and out every day.
It's the same spice and eggnog.
Anyone that lives in King Region, anyone that lives around Toronto Pearson knows that the airplanes are coming in and out. You can't hide a 747, Alex. And it's not strict. It needs to be tightened up because lives are at risk. And I know our council passed a motion in Brampton asking for the airport to be closed a year ago. We've repeated those calls more recently, and just as early as today, Dr. Lowe was speaking in favor at our press conference of the request our council made because he felt that it would protect public health. And so I hope that the Prime Minister will listen to the science, he'll listen to the doctors, and do the right thing and protect our border.
Yeah, I mean, this has all become rather political, and it's easy to dump blame on the Premier for inaction on things, and that's great, but this is federal jurisdiction, and I think people are losing hope.
The sun's coming out.
And hope is not a strategy. And
it's
so,
like minus 12 out there or something. Maybe not that cool.
When is this going to be dealt with? I mean, it's almost too late now that you hear the reports out of Quebec that they've got a reported case. Once the variant arrives, I mean, it's just another
game over. At least she understands that much. There's only a little bit of HIV. You'll be okay.
And that's the challenge right now. Is that in Canada we're losing the race against the variants, and the only way to protect Canada is to make sure we don't get more of these variants inside. And I worry that we're getting to a point where it's going to be too late, where we're going to be beyond our own healthcare capacity. And you're right. This falls squarely on the government of Canada. There's lots of things that I've expressed concerns about in terms of the provincial government. This has nothing to do with this. This is solely a federal decision.
And so are they hearing the message? I mean, I kind of feel silly now because it's like, well, it's here now, so it's too late, but at least slow it down.
Yeah, and, we're not getting the response that we expect. It's really just form letter responses we're getting from the federal government on this. And so, hopefully this will be a wake-up call now that we have that Indian variant in Quebec, that this lackadaisical approach hasn't worked, that there are now real threats to public safety. So I'm hopeful that they'll finally realize they have to do something. But boy, has this been a costly mistake.
It has been a really costly mistake, especially when Canadians themselves can't travel. I mean, you can't go to see family, whatever. We can't travel, but we've got all these people coming in. Does Dr. Lowe or yourself, do you have the power to override this and shut down the jurisdiction?
And neither does the provincial government. The airports are the exclusive authority of the government of Canada. And so you look at a comparison. On the weekend, they're saying you're not allowed to go to a playground, literally 20 feet from your house, but you can fly to Delhi and come back.
And it just further frustrates people. And the other issue is, of course, there's not nearly enough vaccines for the hot zones like yourselves, and you're asking for more vaccines, but, they're not showing up.
I know it looks tangled, but it's not.
Yeah, and don't get me started on that, Alex. It's infuriating that, and today I was talking at my press conference that you look at the pharmacy rollout, Brampton has 8 pharmacies providing COVID-19 vaccines for every 100,000 people. In Kingston, they've got 26.
You want to buy some AstraZeneca? You got some Sputnik? I got that Sputnik. You want the Scion tech?
19 vaccines. They're not a hotspot. We are. We're still behind our per capita.
I got that J&J. That's 2-in-1. You know that, right? One's as good as 2, right?
Vaccine allocation. So that needs to be fixed too. It's starting to get better. We've gone from 6% of the province's vaccines to 10%. But we're 10.5% of the population. 20% of the COVID cases. We're still not getting the type of resources and vaccines that you'd expect. You know, we have the highest positivity.
Right this way, officer. Right this way.
Because of the nature of our workforce, we're heavily essential workers. We're heavily food processing plants and transportation logistics, airport workers. You know, I expect more help.
If I had to generalize and characterize the people that live in Brampton, own houses there or whatever, the people that live there, make it their home, they work. Your whole economy runs on their backs. Don't kid yourself.
Pleasure.
And congratulations, by the way.
Thank you.
That is Mayor Patrick Brown, who just welcomed a new baby into the world, a baby little girl. So he's not just busy, but probably exhausted. So we will keep talking about it.
Welcoming a new baby into the world, so he's not just busy, he's exhausted. Hey, that would have been a year ago. He would. Never mind. Never mind.
This is Global News Radio.
Via Vergara, Max, and Munchkin by Strive Right. Available on Walmart.ca. Walmart. Save money, live better.
If you type in ingrown hairs on this fucking website here, you will find channels that have tens of millions of views. No, but you know what you will not find? Someone who gets ingrown hairs on his goddamn neck.
Called TerraCycle to give its packets what it says in a press release is a, quote, spicier second lease on life that doesn't involve a landfill. Now, right now, Taco Bell doles out more than 8 billion sauce packets a year.
And just like a rapist, they're proud of it. Look at my junk everywhere with my initials carved in and printed on it.
And that participation will be simple and will involve free shipping. Shares in the Taco Bell parent company Yum Brands were down almost 0.5%, $217.45 U.S. the share. Big news from the skies. U.S. airline JetBlue planning to head to Canada.
I ask you, what the fuck could I possibly put on a 60-day planner right now that would be any use to me 2 months from now?
Kind of akin to WestJet in the United States. Not quite a no-frills carrier, but certainly cheaper than the likes of mainline carriers like Air Canada. All right, Bank of Canada in with some big news today. It is moving forward the timing of a potential rate hike after increasing growth projections for the Canadian economy.
You just said you weren't going to do that for 2 years.
6.5% this year, up from its 4% forecast in January. And
we're not going to raise interest rates for about 2 years, foreseeable future, whatever. It hasn't been 8 fucking months since they said that.
First time in a few days, the TSX up 102 points to 19,143. The Dow up 316 to 34,137. S&P gaining 0.9%, and the Nasdaq up 163 points. Canadian.
The S&P. Yeah, Standard & Poor's. Which index are you talking about? Oh.
Growing cash jackpot. The 680 News weather guarantee. Enter online at 680news.com.
Scott McGilvery here. I started my career renovating
engagement ring.
On my projects, I use DMX One Step 2.0.
Now, if you type in DMX, like, I don't know, the Eating Long Enough, the ads that come up are all this fucking guy for DMX1 at Home Depot. I swear to God.
Concrete floor below. DMX One Step 2.0. No mold, no cold. Find it at the Home Depot.
The Hyundai Advantage sales event is one of our biggest events of the year. So we're checking all the boxes. Lease from 0.9% or finance from 0% on select models. Check. Don't pay for 90 days on all models. Check that. More of the comfort and safety features you want. That's a check. And a 5-year comprehensive limited warranty. Totally a check. Enjoy these advantages during the Hyundai Advantage sales event. Conditions apply. Visit HyundaiCanada.com or contact your dealer for details.
Now, 680 News regional weather conditions for CapitalDirect.ca. Take a little, pay a little. A Flexi line by Capital Direct allows you to take only what you need when you want it. Call Capital Direct today at 1-800-NEW-CAPITAL to see what's available for you.
In Orangeville, overcast and -1. Brampton, overcast and 2 degrees. Oakville, overcast and 3. Pickering, mostly overcast and 3 degrees. Markham, partly cloudy, 2 degrees. Downtown Toronto right now, mostly overcast and 3 degrees. We have a wind chill reading of -2. The News Watch never stops. 680 News is CFTR AM Toronto. It's 7 o'clock.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather.
They didn't re-record that. He's been saying Toronto's for so long.
Good evening. It's Wednesday, April 21st. I'm James Monroe.
You're listening to Global News Radio. This is Global News.
Hotspots for COVID, turning the tide of this pandemic.
Good evening from the Global News Desk. I'm Darren Boland. The Ford government has indicated a paid sick leave program for essential workers is coming in a matter of days. Now, while no details were provided, House Leader Paul Calandra says the government is acting now because Ottawa failed to deliver important changes to the federal sick benefit program in Monday's budget. But as Global's Matthew Bingley explains, the province's back and forth on the policy comes as the Premier himself is in need of some paid time off.
The province's capitulation on sick leave has been a stunning turnaround, admitting the federal program hasn't done enough after months of
Ever since he got sick, needs the time off.
Double dip into your pockets when there's a program already.
Come on, lock it up over and over, Chomo. That's hilarious. It's hilarious how you use malware that gives a backdoor to your computer to harass our computer.
Federal governments
That's the great.
As well, so that workers don't have to apply in actually two places. It's starting to get a bit actually messy.
The timing of the government's flip-flop comes at a moment where Premier Doug Ford has been forced to isolate after coming into contact with a COVID-infected staff member. The irony of Ford's ability to do so is not lost on many. Matthew Bingley, Global News.
While the province continuing to see alarmingly high new cases of COVID-19, more than 4,200 new infections are being reported today, and with nearly 52,000 tests completed, Ontario's test positivity rate is down at 7.9%. However,
It's
health
not
officials
down.
in Peel are stressing
It's down from the record
after
high,
regions top
which, by the way, means you didn't test enough people yesterday. You told us that they didn't report all the numbers yesterday because of the Rogers outage.
Coming back positive.
That is why we have always advised people, if you're meeting people outside of the people that you already live with, assume that they might have COVID, assume that they might have been exposed, that they might be incubating, always wear a mask, always distance, stick to the precautions as much as
You're
possible.
a wonderful hostess.
Well, Dr. Lowe says this indicates just how dire the situation has become in one of the province's virus hotspots. Well, for many hospital workers in Ontario, they feel they can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. The third wave of COVID-19 is putting immense pressure on resources.
Remember, a year and change ago, Buddy said there's a way more tunnel at the end of the light. He was the first person to use that tunnel euphemism there.
We do have redeployed staff that are able to help assist the nurse in providing care, so we're able to stretch that model a bit. The question, of course, is how far can we?
Instead of having nurses, we have people that are sort of helping the nurses. You're a fucking idiot.
Well, Toronto police say they're launching dedicated enforcement teams in each division to focus on large get-togethers.
We'll have more on that in just a moment. We begin our coverage with 6 City's Mark Douglas and the latest from Mayor Tory.
City officials want to triple the vaccinations in Toronto's 13 hottest COVID hotspots.
The Team Toronto Sprint strategy.
Mayor John Tory says these 13 areas will be getting pop-up and mobile clinics for everyone 18 and older. And if there's any doubt about how urgently the city needs to sprint in the race against COVID.
How come lowriders and high-risers can pull over for ambulances, but all you idiots in your fucking Hyundais can't seem to do it?
To COVID-19.
That's more than the number of homicides we had in the city the entirety of last year.
Davila and the mayor emphasizing how
This
vaccines will not beat the third wave. The people have to do their part. The mayor compares it to the cheering crowd at a hockey game.
Keep the vaccinations going, keep playing a good game on the ice, but then make sure the crowd is into it to provide support for the.
Because we've been hearing these analogies forever, that home team support.
New cases of COVID-19 today alone. Now, this all comes as President Joe Biden suggests the U.S. will send more surplus COVID-19 vaccines to Canada, likely the Oxford AstraZeneca shot. And Niagara Regional Police have taken the unusual move of putting out a news release about a social media scam that could be very dangerous. Local Shona Thompson reports.
There is a false report circulating about April 24th being National Rape Day. It was reported that it originated on TikTok and alleges that 6 guys put up a video about it. However, TikTok and various media outlets have found no such original video. Still, reaction to the false report has been spreading, with many social media users being triggered by even the suggestion of such a thing. Niagara Regional Police Media Relations Officer Phil Gavin tweeting out that in all his years in that role,
Assassination Day. The Mac 10 spray whack cats like Windex.
And if you need to be told, there is no such thing, and sexual assault is illegal in every jurisdiction in North America. Police adding sexual violence is never acceptable as a joke or a punchline. Shonatan.
Except when it's a sex offender throwing HIV-infected blood in a nigger's face, and then go watch the top video on this channel and tell me that what they just said is true. It's obviously not.
You have to go back to early February for the last time the matchup between the pair took place. And Toronto took that.
Positivity rate continues.
I'm sorry, did I just bust the wind out of your sails on this? We're going to stand up and there's no such thing as rape day. So you just admitted the whole concept was made up, that it didn't actually exist. You're going to make yourselves look good by fighting against it and then opening the door for me to show you that you've just proven you've done nothing about such a thing. Wow. Wow.
90 of those are in the ICU, 566 of those on a ventilator. The 6th day in a row, those...
They asked the Solicitor General why they're giving guys like this a pass to be informants when they don't know anything in the street to inform on, and everybody they inform on wasn't doing what they're accused of. Ask why your kid gets to get raped by an HIV-infected person who's here fraudulently, lies about his past because he's an apartheidist. Ask about all that when they start talking about, oh, it's not rape day. What day is rape day then, stupid? In Canada, it's every fucking day.
A spectacular job throughout this. This is a challenging time.
We're going to come out looking really good talking about how rape day's not real. No, you just made yourselves look horrible. You just sided with the pedophiles.
The premier will continue to lose the trust in
the apartheidist, Stasi, Nazi socialist pedophiles. That's who you just sided with. We're gonna look really good. No. It's right. Hey, how you doing, Dougie? I know you got your people watch this. I know it's OPP. I know.
Part of the reason why Vaughan has consistently reported the most cases of COVID in the York region since the pandemic began.
I could have made them look stupid for criticizing you, but why? You're on your own, stupid, because I'm a bad apple. I didn't pay for my land from a white person who brought it to me.
Laid against an address in the Rutherford and Weston area for attending a social gathering held indoors. What's more, there are reports of restaurants in Vaughan choosing to ignore the public safety measures.
On the program are employees of or otherwise represent the advertiser. The opinions expressed therein are those of the advertiser and do not necessarily reflect the views and policies of Global News Radio.
Extremely responsibly affecting.
This is our national symbol. It also means death. Don't approach. End of life. And you all keep pretending we copied it from you. Hardly. Go look in your Bible. I must go and gather the rest of my flock. And then he went away for a time, and then he returned.
We know that these are all public health measures under the Vehicle Criminal Material Act. And so when someone chooses to host a party like you described, the individual can be charged $880 per individual.
The minimum fine is $1,000, and everybody's getting $880 tickets. If the minimum fine is $1,000, how are you getting $880 tickets? Just wondering.
You can go to Access York at york.ca, or you can go to your city or town's bylaw office, or via York Region's mobile app at york.ca/report a problem. Vaughan has topped 17,000 cases of COVID-19. Phil Martino, 680 News.
And teachers with the Toronto Catholic District School Board have reportedly voted in favor of strike action. Sources confirming the results of a meeting yesterday to City News, and a screenshot of an email shows members of the Toronto Elementary Catholic Teachers Union voting more than 90% in favor of strike action. The two sides are set to return to the bargaining table next week. We'll check gas next. Your news.
Go back to August 2019. The Catholic teachers who want absolute and complete control of your children, they must be allowed to touch them. 2 years of trying to play this pandemic in their favor, and they're angry because they still can't figure out how to convince you have to let them touch their kid. Should teachers need physical access to your children? Why? Oh, because we're co-parents and we get to choose what medical care they receive. This is the people. $96,000 a year. Everybody in the province gets 1% that year. No, except the teachers. We want 2%. Yeah, so 97,000. I know it's 960, but whatever. 97,000 isn't enough. They want 98,000, and they fucked up the entire 2019-2020 school year. Oh, that's because of COVID. No. That entire school year, everybody got rubber stamp pass. What is it, 60%, 70%? Everybody got rubber stamp pass. And the graduation thing was set to your final mark was left to be whatever your teacher assigned. Okay, these are the same teachers that take marks off for being black. Scream at us that we don't exist. We're made up by Hollywood. We don't exist.
In the third person.
Caleb sure does.
Oh, and it's been illegal to hit kids in Canada forever. Okay, like it was decades already before I was in school, and yes, they hit us. Oh, that's what you're making you do. When I was a kid, when you were a kid, you raped children and beat up niggers and got away with it. So I don't want to hear how tough it made you.
Call or visit Spence.
Your application and decide what to do at that point.
All right.
680 News Time, 7-11.
Traffic and weather together on the ones, Carly Donahue.
This report is brought to you by Leon's Furniture. Right now, northbound on the DVP, the ramp to the southbound Don Mills exit has been shut down due to a collision. And on southbound Don Mills, south of the DVP, you've got a right lane block for the crash as well. So those two got collapsed.
So what I was smoking last night was called Rockstar. I meant to smoke a 16th. I smoked an 8th, and that's why I slept 8 hours today. It's called Rockstar. If you come across it, it's good. And supposedly that batch came from BC. But we bought up all the batch from Ontario. I got the seeds here somewhere.
Pretty much delay free right now. We do have issues on city streets though. Northbound Bayview approaching Frank and Dean, which is just approaching Elgin Mills. We've got the left turn lane blocked off due to some traffic light repairs. There was a crash earlier on. Just destroyed
Beijing Hour.
So they're fixing that up right now there. And then Islington at Major Mackenzie, that intersection, the eastbound and the northbound sides of the intersection are down to a single lane getting through, and that's all due to maintenance.
Come on, Chomo. Every time I look towards the screen, you're going to do this.
Furniture, mattresses, and selective packages at Leon's. Ends on Sunday. Shop online at leons.ca today. Now we'll look at the forecast. Here's Natasha Ramsey.
-2 degrees, wind chill -8. That's what it's going to feel like in the morning and overnight. We have some lake effects.
Last night. But it's a long uphill fight post-Trump. The 4 years of Trump were devastating to the civil rights movement, and he's not helping in any way to distance himself from the.
This will be Beijing Hour.
AI to make it even smarter and be able to give more helpful treatment proposals.
Today, AI has been able to outperform 90% of human users based on what's been input. China's AI giant iFlagTech has developed a call robot able to make 100,000 medical inquiry calls within an hour, and a doctor assistant system that can help diagnose 95% of common diseases. In the eyes of the company's vice president Du Lan, AI will soon be of greater help in hospitals and beyond.
人工智能它会进入到千家万户 AI will enter ordinary households, providing customized medical assistance and comprehensive health management. Surgery robots will be able to perform highly accurate, minimally invasive operations. Exoskeleton robots will serve us in our daily lives, and motion control robotics will make rich people strong.
The bright prospect is brought high.
Blue Man Group will return to the Luxor in Vegas this summer. And the president and CEO, Daniel Lemaire, says this is just the beginning with more.
They're playing music in the background. It's the same people that insist putting chemical smells into the department stores will make you buy more stuff. They've been telling us that since '94. You know what happens when I walk in the store with those? You can see them in the corner plugged in the wall. Walk out because I can't breathe the fucking air. But they will insist. They've been spending this money for 25 years to get more money. They're mad at me for not getting it.
Find out what all the is not able to do that.
Damn it.
Etc. Ces objectifs-là, environnementaux, bien sûr, ils sont pris dans des instances internationales. L'idée, essentiellement, c'est de s'appuyer autant que possible, bien sûr, sur des constats scientifiques pour se fixer des cibles. Par exemple, en matière de protection des milieux naturels, que ce soit des milieux terrestres, des milieux marins, ou encore la protection des espèces menacées, on se donne des objectifs précis. Mais le meilleur exemple, bien sûr, des dernières années, c'est celui de l'enjeu climatique, où là, dans ce cas-là, on a une science climatique qui nous dit très clairement ce qu'il faut comprendre de l'origine du problème. Donc, on parle ici des émissions de gaz à effet de serre, bien sûr, qui sont imputables essentiellement à la combustion des énergies fossiles. Et donc, à partir de ces constats-là, il faut se donner...
He's not dumb. He speaks 6 languages. That just means there's way more people that know you're stupid.
15 postal code areas will be the target of a so-called sprint strategy with mobile and pop-up clinics.
So if they keep calling it the carbon cycle and the number of the beast, carbon 666 and all this shit, what they're neglecting to mention is everything's made of carbon that's alive. And they were supposed to be measuring carbon dioxide. But the theory is carbon dioxide is sort of like a thermos that makes the earth warmer somehow. I have yet to see how that works. They think releasing methane into the air is better than burning it. Because when you burn it, you're creating carbon dioxide, and that will heat up the earth. I know methane's a greenhouse gas too, right? It heats up the earth. No mention of the fact that it poisons everything that breathes. And no mention of all the heat generated by atomic reactions. That's heat. That has nothing to do with carbon. It's heat being released nonstop that was not absorbed from the sun.
That's manager Charlie Montoyo. Kevin Biggio is moving up to the leadoff spot. Marcus Semien down to the 6th hole, and Lourdes Gurriel Jr. batting 8th. Trent Thornton will be on the mound. Again, we're about 25 minutes away from.
Subscribe to Chat Lounge for free on Apple Podcasts.
Taking the court against the Brooklyn Nets. Toronto welcoming back Siakam, Lowry, Vince.
Last week, U.S. climate envoy John Kerry traveled to Shanghai to meet his Chinese counterpart Xie Zhenhua, marking the first high-level visit to China by a Biden administration official. The two sides agreed to work together on the implementation of the Paris Agreement. Experts suggest that China and the United States can play a bigger role in tackling the global climate issue. Juju has more.
You see how it's timed at the 16-minute mark will all cover climate.
Lab founded by scholars in the UK.
The Chinese government's no more creative than any other government. Remember, everything stupid will be voiced by a woman. Listen.
Looking at the figures, some may assume that China should bear more responsibility for climate change.
But they have more renewable energy and less nuclear. Blue light is bad for you, so don't read. Don't read in the daytime. Don't read at night. Don't read in natural light. Don't read in artificial. Reading is bad. CRI is no different than any of these other broadcasters or governments.
Getting vaccinated every day. Your turn is coming soon. Visit ontario.ca/COVID vaccine plan or call 1-800-999-6488 for
a year and a half ago, they told me I had to go to the grocery store at 7 in the morning with all the other immunocompromised people. Man, I said, fuck you then, too. Hey, you want to know why your stupid arrow thing doesn't work? I want you to look at something very closely. You see that arrow in their logo pointed down? It's the exact same. They've got the exact same letter O all over the floor. But you're supposed to think it goes this way, even though you see it this way all the time. Hey, it doesn't matter which direction you go through the aisle. It's how many people you're passing and how close you are. Yeah, I'm supposed to go in this direction and pass by 12 people instead of going the wrong way and passing nobody. Right, because stock boys are smart enough to run the world. Guys who will take out one can at a time from the new box and put it in the old box instead of throwing the old box, putting the new one on the shelf. They have to touch every single can. Cans that don't stack, they're constantly stacking. They fill right to the edge of the shelf, so you cannot grab it. You got to knock over 3 of them to pick up one. These guys are going to fix the world's problems.
Meanwhile, tonight a U.S. senator accusing NBA star LeBron James of inciting violence against a police officer after the basketball player tweeted a photo of a cop with the caption, "You're next." #accountability. LeBron posted in a sense
violence. Oh, because right, because when you call the cops, it's violence. Right. If a white guy calls the cops on a black guy, that's inherently violent. It's going to be violent. If a black guy says, "Well, I'll call the cops on you," you just threatened me with getting lynched. It doesn't apply, stupid.
Republican Senator Tom Cotton from Arkansas tweeting, LeBron James is inciting violence against an Ohio police officer.
Arkansas. You know what we do to Arkansas? We drain it dry,
This
buddy.
is All News Radio 680 News. Back
You're
to the
smoking out them
vaccines
light
from
bulbs, eh?
Canada's
You're
neighbor
smoking
to
out
the
them
south.
light bulbs, eh?
Perhaps able to help out.
As the feds and provinces try to get as many shots into as many arms as possible,
Arkansas.
President Joe Biden says the
Gunsmoke.
United States is looking to help
Arkansas.
once again.
Oh, shit.
Biden says he spoke about unused vaccines in the states during a phone call with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau.
A fellow who's working really hard to take care of his country, and
A fella who's working hard to get his country. He's leaning like this with a belly, thinking of a kid he's raping. You don't fucking see the fucking way these people relate to each other? I'm not saying Trudeau's like that. I'm saying Biden's like that. He's Trump's vice president. You hear how he's trying to relate to Trudeau.
Mexico received $2.5 million.
No concept. Okay, American government has no concept that somebody other than the American government owns anything. The British government knows they can't take this land. The Canadian government knows it's just sitting on land here. It doesn't own any of it. But you're related to it. He owns that land and he runs it. You're getting fucking shot, stupid.
20-volt max system.
But it's kind of like Trump. It's exactly the same. It will accomplish more not shooting your dumb ass.
Two 20-volt max 10 amp hour batteries covering up to 75 minutes of runtime.
Who was vice president when all this shit was going on? Breonna Taylor and Eric Garner and Trayvon Martin. And who was the right?
The Home Depot and
He's a fella trying to help his country. Oh, really? It's not his country. I don't know if you noticed. You could say he's the child of Pierre Elliott Trudeau and what's her face. More people that ain't from here. More people counted as building the blueprints of this country that nobody abides by. You know, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Canadian flag, one of the 17 versions of the Canadian anthem. I'll put you like this. His mom cheated on his dad with a rock star. His wife got COVID while nobody around her got COVID. Instead of taking a test, he decided to self-isolate. So we'll never know for sure if he got exposed or not. He didn't get exposed. How does wife get that? 2 kids means 2 CF babysitters. Monitored at all times by the Army. How'd your wife get away from you, bro?
Due to a crash,
Trudeau don't give a fuck about this country. Why would he?
right lane is blocked off.
His country.
So watch out for that. It is not really causing a delay right now, but
remember, Trudeau spent $4.5 billion on a pipeline that was less than $500 million spent. It's an American company. He handed over $4 billion for no reason to an American company on the promise that he would kill off these niggers out in the woods.
And then northbound Bayview approaching Frank and Dean, which is approaching Elgin Mills.
Why are the RCMP in those woods?
Blocked off, and that is for some traffic lights.
I mean, I like having them where I know where they are. The woods is a good spot. You can't shoot through a tree, stupid.
Lexus of Richmond Hill, and receive a $3,000 export credit. Details at lexusofrichmondhill.com. Now the forecast. Here's Natasha.
You know what else you can't do? Outrun a forest fire, pussy. Hey, all your cars run on gasoline. Hey, you ain't got one diesel vehicle amongst you, have you?
So areas like Barrie, parts of the 400, northern
volunteer firefighters, they ain't got sirens.
Conditions in the morning. Flurries will taper off by about 10 a.m. or so, and then leaving us with a mainly cloudy afternoon, a high of 7. Feeling cooler with a gusty west wind, and then sunshine for Friday and 17 degrees. Partly cloudy Saturday. Lots of sun in the morning though, with a high of 13. Tonight down to a low of -2, wind chill -8.
Downtown Toronto mostly overcast and a wind chill reading of -2.
Coming up the bottom of the hour, chilling, the hottest of the hotspots. The city of Toronto has ID'd 13 postal code areas. Will be the target of a so-called sprint strategy with mobile and pop-up clinics, expanding the target, the tripling of needles going into arms.
Now remember, these public health people for a year have said, we want to get it back to normal. We know you all want it back to normal. So all everybody keeps hearing is act like everything's normal. You realize that, right? That's your own fault.
Technology for high-performance audio. Enjoy big sound in a compact unit with easy remote controls for radios, CDs, MP3s, and other auxiliary inputs. And wake up to dual alarm and snooze programs with gently rising volumes. Watch for it on April 24th when it's the Today Showstopper. Shop GSC.ca. Today's shopping choice.
680 News is #1 for news in Toronto.
From the scene.
680's Mark Douglas is at Coxwell and Gerard this afternoon. The house was so badly.
Everybody but a kid died in that fire. And they've been running that over and over and over. Listen to this horrible story over and over. Why are you promoting that? What the fuck's wrong with you? Everybody but a kid died in that fucking thing, eh?
24/7.
Toronto's #1 for breaking news, traffic, and weather.
Did they talk at all about fire codes or why the building burned down? And they didn't have working smoke detectors. Why was the house built out of moldy wood?
Morning snow may have been a jolt to many
Why are they this far apart out there?
Their winter tires, but the CAA says don't be in a rush.
You have summer tires on right now. As long as you practice those safe driving techniques, keep your distance, and slow down, you should be fine.
Says keeping your winter tires on too long into warm weather could damage your vehicle. Coming up.
No, it can't. No, it can't. Your tires will wear out faster and they'll be noisier. And there's potential for it to affect your handling and stopping distance and shit, but it cannot damage your vehicle.
Manager down to the service technicians.
If it could damage your vehicle, it would damage your vehicle in the winter too, huh?
This month, get $3,000 credit in 1
I was hoping I would have something worthwhile to argue against here. Everything I'm hearing is stupid. I'm wasting my time.
What does it feel like?
Tous les sons ne sont pas égaux en fait en termes de difficulté pour les enfants. Qu'est-ce qui est le plus facile à prononcer au début et qu'est-ce qui est le plus difficile, Agathe?
Au début, quand l'enfant commence à faire des sons, les plus faciles à réaliser sont ceux qui se prononcent à l'avant de la bouche. Par exemple, P comme papa.
Tomo gets so mad. I dared it was my mistake. Tomo gets so mad when I dare to interact. Keep it up. Tomo gets so mad when I dare to interact with. Keep it up. Keep it up, Tomo. Keep it up. Keep it up. Everybody knows. Everybody knows because you've left hundreds of messages, dozens of police reports, all the rest of it. Keep it up, Tomo. Tomo flips the fuck out every time I dare to use my computer.
Will seek a federal court order
I'm his property. You must promise to him somehow. I don't see how on your
Department's already investigating whether Chauvin and the other.
No, I know you've been trying to tell me that for 35 years, and I keep telling you go fuck yourself or I'll kill you. I know my boys put guns to your head and you shit your pants, and you're still angry at me about that because when did I don't even know who the fuck you are, bro. Why the fuck you still talking at me, harassing me on the internet? He's 2 floors up from me right now. He's 30 feet away from me right now.
The killing of 16-year-old Michaela Bryant by the Columbus police is tragic. She was a child. We're thinking of her friends and family and the communities that are hurting and grieving her loss.
Bryant was shot on Tuesday, minutes after the verdict in George Floyd's killing, when police responded to a 911 call about an altercation. Columbus police released footage of the shooting just hours after it happened, where the teenager is seen with a knife charging at 2 people. The local police chief says state law allows police to use deadly force to protect themselves and others. Ohio
2 people who broke into somebody's house. The police are protecting the people that broke into the house. So I'll tell you 2 little stories here. Someone broke into a house up here once. Somebody came down from upstairs, finds a guy in his kitchen, grabs a knife. The guy who grabbed the knife did a year in jail before they released him because he didn't do anything criminal. That's right. He had just woken up. That's right. And he's in his house. That's right. That's right. There is no liability or what's the word? Good Samaritan law or nothing like that. Here's another one. 2 guys try to attack a kid in a lobby of a building, just like here. One of them hits him with, I think it was a piece of wood or a bat or something. The kid falls down, gun falls out of his pocket. He grabs the gun, he shoots, pop, 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 pop. He hurts one, kills the other one. In court, the judge says, well, since you said they were already running away when you started shooting, I'm going to find you guilty. 6 years goes by. They check the transcript. The kid never said that. He never said anything about that. The judge just made it up. They can rule however they want. It doesn't matter what a jury decides in this country. The judge or justice of the peace, the jurist, has the right to set aside the verdict. And they didn't. So Chomo revels in this shit. A black 16-year-old kid gets her 15 or whatever, gets shot down protecting their family by the government forces telling them you're not allowed to protect your family. You have to let white people kill you and rape you. And she was a child, as if she's not alive. Like she's gone forever. It's the ultimate sacrifice. Could you only live once? And that's why we don't speak English properly. We all smoke crack. Way to go, buddy.
You white people are fucking classy, yeah?
We make sure you're the first.
And I love how the police are always, well, they were in their house and they had a knife in there. So knives aren't weapons. Look up the law. A knife is not a weapon. A firearm is always a weapon. A knife is a knife. That's a tool. If you're Sikh or First Nations or Jamaican or a whole bunch of other things, you're allowed to carry them. They cannot stop you. They cannot stop Sikh kids from carrying knives in schools here. They're allowed to carry daggers into schools. You cannot stop them. So even the police say, oh, the kid had a knife. That means nothing. It's irrelevant. That's like screaming, oh, but I wanted to rape that child. It's not an excuse for anything. It's not an excuse for anything. All right, so I'm going to go out and kill some pedophiles and leave the evidence at the fucking police station door. You have a good microsecond.